How does a physical in-person college campus provide a superior college experience compared to an online one?
Okay, I'll start and you can contribute to that. So basically, in Scripture, the Bible is not against what you might call distance learning, because the book of Ephesians is distance learning. The book of Romans is distance learning. But throughout the New Testament, you have expressions by the writer that says, in Galatians, I wish I were there so I could change my tone about you. Or in the epistles of John, I long to be there with you face to face. You have the Apostle Paul yearning to be together with the people he's writing to.
And he tells them, imitate me as I imitate Christ.
Correct. So there is nothing unlawful or wrong or sinful or bad about taking a class with an internet connection, or reading a book you checked out of a library, or having someone teach you at a distance. But if you passed that up when you had an opportunity, if I were willing to be taught online by the Apostle Paul, but I preferred that to going to travel with him, I'd be out of my mind. Because when I go travel with him, I see him in all the in-between times. I learn all kinds of things that I can't learn in the defined scope and sequence of an online class. So what you get in a good, healthy, three-dimensional college is community. Real people who are being themselves 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And that's either a good thing or a bad thing, or it's a bad thing turning into a good thing, or a good thing turning into a bad thing. And you've got responsibilities to these neighbors, these brothers and sisters, all the time. And so you don't want to live in a bubble. So the bubble that is created by online courses is not a new bubble. We've always had bookworms. We've always had kids who would rather go sit in the library all day, interacting with books rather than interacting with people. That's not a new problem, right? It's the same problem as we've always had, and wise parents, wise people who are wanting to grow up want to learn with books, learn with teachers, learn online, learn in a classroom, and then have a life with the people you're learning with in genuine community.
That all makes sense. I think it's interesting biblically that one of the qualifications for knowing somebody is fit to be a teacher is their kids. What do my kids have to do with my teaching? Well, actually, because my house, dinner at my house, life around, what's going on Sunday morning, all of that weaves in and out of my teaching and validates or contradicts it.
Right.
And you want to be around the whole culture to really know what the teaching is.
Right.
But I think the other thing is that there's a subtle shift that has happened in our definition of education over the last 50 years or so, where we don't know what education means anymore, because what we've done is we've subtly replaced education with certification.
Yeah.
And so we are now all education seems to be programmed to lead towards certain employable skills for certain career paths, which means it's actually certification. It's ticking the box in did you learn how to do this? Did you learn how to do this? And they are things, as soon as that's what education is, then actually that is something you could learn online just as easily, because it's quite small and trivial.
Right. So, and even when the certification is teaching something valuable, it's training, not education.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, education is something much larger. It's larger enculturation. And the thing is the secular university campuses are still doing education. It's just that the part that it is their enculturation, they don't point to. They point to the certification.
Right.
But the enculturation is your kids falling away from the faith, your kids learning this secularism, learning to bow to the Office of Diversity and to fall in line for all these different things.
Right.
They're being educated, enculturated in this thing that's really actually.
That's exactly right. And there is a place for vocational training. We have Protestants have a robust view of vocational calling, but education, liberal arts education, is not vocational training for English teachers.
Right.
Liberal arts education is training everyone for life, and it's a full-orbed thing, and virtue has to govern the whole thing. Virtue under Christ has to govern the whole thing. The gospel governs the whole thing. And if you just truncate it down to how can I become a dental hygienist,
Right.
Just
Well, and I think that's why, for instance, the liberal arts education is something that people are having a harder time comprehending, because we've grown accustomed to your degree has this word in it, and the word matches the job you want. And that's how you know what degree to get, is you know what job you want, and then you find the degree has that in its name,
Right.
and you line them up,
Right.
which it makes sense. I can see how that's coherent. And then all of a sudden you look at the liberal arts and you say, oh, philosophy, where's the job? Where does a philosopher get a decent job other than teaching philosophy? Because the only jobs that seem to be apparent to match up with the liberal arts are teaching the liberal arts.
When I majored in philosophy, as it happened, and I used to talk to people and say, what are you going to do with that when you graduate? And I said, I'm going to get a job at Taco Time. And I'm going to be the one in the back saying, what is a taco? When you get right down to it,
is this taco even here?
What is a taco?
But as soon as you drop this idea that it's just this strict little vocation training, you say, no, it's this larger enculturation, which everybody knows is what happens at college, is larger enculturation. Because if I was to, I when I go to speak to high school students, I'll ask them, how many of your parents currently have a job that matches the degree that they got in their undergraduate? 80% or so, your undergraduate degree no longer matches the vocation. You did philosophy, you're a minister, I did chemistry. We move on. And so, but once you detangle, am I trying to pick my career by picking a major? Once you get away from that, then the question is, well, why college? And because you start to wonder, what's even the point of it? But if it doesn't take long to realize that those 4 years are hugely influential in your life. They shaped. Ask most people, what was the period in your life where you really formed your Christian identity, where that really came to be something you owned, or either you came to faith, you came to a much more mature understanding of the faith, or you came to an independent sort of faith.
Right.
It was probably during those 4 years.
Right, and one writer helpfully said, it's not about information, it's about formation.
Right.
So liberal arts, classical education is about formation and living together in an intentional community where people are trying to form the same thing. They're trying to row in the same direction, because it's all about formation. The information, largely, if you form the right character, discipline, study habits, turning your papers in on time, the information is at your fingertips for the rest of your life. The information is not that hard to acquire if the formation is there.
Right. Yeah. Well, it is such a important time to have. If you're going to be formed, you want to be around people who are going to form you the way you want to be formed.
Yeah.
So I tell people, don't ask what kind of job do I want when you pick your college. Ask what kind of person do I want to be.
Right.
And that's what dictates the kind of place you want to go, because they're going to leave that mark on you.
Exactly.